Okay, so moving on to the next topic, it's the minimal is progressing. So we move on from the microlumbar discectomy to the easy-go technique to Descendo technique. So now we present the experience of full endoscopic lumbar surgery, where everything is worked through a single channel. So just a short brief presentation. The next two talks are on full endoscopic spine surgery. So Saurav, you can start the presentation.
Good morning. Any spine surgery for a spine surgeon is challenging. Lumbar discectomy is one of the commonest disc surgery performed by any spine surgeon. Today we'll see full endoscopic spine surgery advantages over other procedures for spine surgery.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying back for the.
Good morning. Any spine surgery for a spine surgeon is challenging. Lumbar discectomy is one of the commonest disc surgery performed by any spine surgeon. Today we'll see full endoscopic spine surgery advantages over other procedures for spine surgery. Endoscopic procedures can be done for all problems of spine, especially discectomy, brachiosaurine stenosis, lateral recess stenosis, and central canal stenosis. Nowadays, we use this technique for even endoscopic PLIF. Coming to transforaminal technique, it's a posterolateral technique where we enter from around 10 to 14 centimeter from the midline, depending upon the pathology, whether it is medial, lateral, foraminal, or extraforaminal. The concept of full endoscopic spine surgery is it's a percutaneous technique where we use a single port which has working channel, irrigation, outflow channel, the illumination, and the camera, all in one sleeve. Because of this irrigation, we have excellent magnification and visibility, and angle scope gives better visibility and less tissue damage. It can be done under local epidural or general anesthesia. Positioning is as any other spine surgery patient where patient is positioned and we want less lordosis here, and this transforaminal technique where we use done in either local anesthesia with some sedation or epidural. I do it under epidural analgesia most of the times. So just to show the technique, patient prone with epidural analgesia, in this case, midline is marked and AP is marked. You can see the pedicles are equidistant, the lateral is marked. So once AP lateral are marked, so around 13 centimeter from the lateral marking, a small stab is given and a 18 gauge needle is passed and stillet removed and measured, and the guide wire is passed into the needle and the needle is removed. Once the needle is removed, this incision is extended few millimeter, around 6 to 7 millimeter. Both any transfers or a vertical incision can be taken. So dilator is passed over the guide wire, and this dilator, you can see how I am twisting motion in line with the guide wire and passing inside, and we feel a resistance, and once we feel the resistance, it is further pushed inside with the counter pressure and checked on CM. Once it is under the facet, this facet angle guides us inside into the disc space. I do it inside out technique where we enter the disc space first and then come out little bit and do surgery. So I have entered the disc here. So once I have entered the disc, I pass a sheath bevel facing to superiorly where it does not injure the traversing and exiting route. So once a sheath is inside, I tap it further so that it can enter the disc space. So if the disc surface is calcified or ossified. Sometimes this might be difficult. So once a sheath is in situ, I pass the endoscope, and once the endoscope passes inside, so you see an endoscopic view, endoscopic image, 12 o'clock being the posterior or dorsum, 3 o'clock is superior, 9 o'clock is inferior. I used various instruments. This is a articulated curette where I try to mobilize the fragment. This is an articulated burr where I burr the superior facet, the non-articular part of the superior facet. So which overhangs into the foramen and forms a curtain to reach the lateral recess. So once this curtain is drilled at 3 to 4 millimeter, you can nicely see the pathology and you can just extract the pathology. So this is the way transforaminal surgery is done. It should be planned and the fragment should be planned and needle should be placed accordingly. So you see a case here, a L4, L5 disc, extruded disc on the left side, left radiculopathy, the lateral recess stenosis, and the ligament hypertrophy there. So needle is placed in the midline, and you can see the lateral view, in the posterior one third. Once the endoscope is placed, you can see here this highly inflamed disc material, which was causing symptoms. So fragments or loose fragments are removed. Once the loose fragments are removed, we see the anatomy should not be missed. 12 o'clock is the posterior, that is the thecal sac and root area. 9 o'clock is inferior end plate, 3 o'clock is superior end plate. So once we retract the cannula a little bit, you can see the torn annulus there. You can see a nice torn annulus there. So, and the thinned out annular fibers. I just cut the fibers a little bit. I'm just cutting the fibers because it's a 30-degree angle scope. You can see the roof very nicely in here. You can see the epidural fat, it's a thecal sac area and the root area, and there's some epidural ooze which I coagulate with RF, high frequency RF. Once loose fragments are removed, I use punches to remove the fragments which are of interest. So you can see a big fragment is coming out, which is just under the root. Once the fragment is out, we should not be very happy because there might be partial fragment might have come out and the still fragments might be there. The edges of the area is just cleaned with the RF. Then you can see at the 12 o'clock, still some fragments are lying loose. So try to catch those fragments and remove the fragments. You can see the fragments have been removed. The second fragment has come out. And now you can see a nice rent in the annulus and the PLL. So the third fragment is out. Still we are not able to see the thecal sac or the root. So just use a hook, which is articulating hook. Try to hook out any loose fragments. And I can see a fragment there. So it's one more big fragment. I'm just trying to extract the fragment. Now you can see a good floating thing there, and you can see a thecal sac or root there with thin streaks of blood vessels. Once that is done, now we need to decompress the root all around. So just remove some annular fibers, and you can see transversely lying lumbar artery and lumbar vein, which need to be removed to decompress the lateral recess. I cut the lumbar artery. Now I'm coagulating the lumbar vein, and once it is coagulated, I just cut them. Then I remove the loose tissue over the nerve. You can see the now well pulsating. So all have to ensure that end plate to end plate clearance and the lateral recess need to be decompressed. I removed the ligament also. Now you can see the root is well decompressed, all 360 degrees. That is posterior, anterior, and lateral. All three surfaces have been decompressed and root is well pulsating. So immediate post-op, see MRI shows the complete fragment removal and the lateral recess is well. Coming to interlaminar full endoscopy surgery, the concept is same, except here we have more advantage of mobility. The patient is positioned under GA, and the case you can see how it is done. A 29-year female with low backache radiating to right side, the L4, L5S1 extruded disc. So we did a right full endoscopic discectomy. AP is marked just lateral to midline. A small nick is placed, dilator is passed, and again confirmed on CM, which is just lateral to midline and at the level of L5S1 disc space, just landing at the facet. So once it is done confirmed, then you put a scope inside. Once you can see this is a irrigation channel, this is a outflow channel, then this is a camera connection, and this is the light source. Once this is done, we enter with irrigation around 30 to 40 millimeter of mercury. I use a little finger and the ring finger to support the cannula and the thumb finger for supporting the scope. And you can see the steering effect of the interlaminar approach. Endoscopic view, you can see the muscle fibers just coagulate and few muscle fibers has to be removed. Once you remove the muscle fibers, you see the yellow ligament. You can see the yellow ligament there nicely with small ooze from the muscle which can be coagulated. That's the beauty of this irrigation and the magnification of this endoscope. You can see fine bleeders from the muscle edge. They just coagulate it and you can see the yellow ligament now. So once you are sure that you have done adequately, then yellow ligament is cut to create a small rent in the yellow ligament. You can see the rent is created. Just extend the rent and just with the tilting the cutter and going further closer so that we can see what we are cutting. So the cut is extended laterally as possible so that we can see the lateral edge of the root. A small bit of fat is removed so that we can identify the lateral edge of the root. Here, identifying the lateral edge of the root is the key. In view of our small instruments, it is very easy in the interlaminar space, and with our angled scope, it is very easy. If you are not able to identify, come out a little bit and drill the facet. So you can see the lateral edge of the root here. Once it is seen, with the dissector, you can just release the root from the disc bulge and using the cannula bevel, just pushing it all around to retract the root. So my bevel of the cannula is retracting the root. Once it is retracted, I just coagulate the surface of the annular bulge and I put a small nick over the annular bulge, which is the area of the prolapse. A small nick is given, annulotomy is done here and annulus is cut, which is very thinned out here. Once you cut, you can see the extruded fragment is already there. So it is very easy and very clean. You can see the visibility. There is no blood. Nothing is there. The disc material is removed, and you can see the edges. There is some osteophytes or tough tissues there, which is also removed. Now, superiorly and inferiorly, the osteophytes have been removed. The disc material has been removed, and you can see the root area, which is very, very clean. You can see the root area, the vessels over the root, so nicely visible, and the fat droplets are very fine. Globules of the fat are seen very nicely, and you can see the fragment has been removed, completely decompressed root, and the cannula is removed. Once you are removing the content of full endoscopic spine surgery, where the irrigation and the visibility helps us seeing the things very clearly and the angle of the scope, we can reach superiorly, inferiorly, and medially with ease. So the scope of endoscopic spine surgery has increased over years, where we can do almost all procedures with a simple endoscope. Thank you.
So with the one talk remaining, any questions from the audience? We can take one or two questions. Otherwise, we'll move to the next talk. So we can just move to the next talk. It's by Dr. Sumit Pawar, is a senior spine surgeon and a neurosurgeon. So he'll be talking on percutaneous stenotic lumbar disc surgery. Over to Sumit sir, you can start your talk.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for staying back for the last session and the last lecture of today's conference, the minimal invasive endoscopic spine surgery for spinal stenosis. I'll be speaking of the endoscopic approaches in spine surgery. Before that, let me welcome you to the NSSA Spine 2022 to be held in Mumbai. Dr. Vananvello, myself, and Dr. P.S. Ramani are very keen to invite you for this academic feast that will be held from 15th to 18th of September 2022. Endoscopic spine surgery is an offshoot of minimal invasive spine surgery. As per the current literature, it is supposed to be equivalent or superior to the open and conventional surgical techniques. Endoscopic surgery has a distinctive advantage of minimal muscle and bone loss, less pain, early rehab, reduced hospital stay, and early return to work. It was used earlier only for discectomies, but with now in advances in technology, it can be used for lumbar stenosis also. We'll skip the historical details. Essentially, there are 4 generations of endoscopic spine surgery. The first generation is what was introduced the earliest for discectomy, inside out, outside in techniques, half and half techniques. But these 4 zones are defined which limit the transfemoral surgery, the neural and bony restrictions, for which second generation was developed. Interlaminar techniques are much better in approaching, like we consider Descendo endospine system. We can take this case as an example. This is a case of a detethering of cord in a girl with massive kyphoscoliotic deformity. This is how a Descendo system is going to be inserted, and this is a typical operative setup. Now, once we have the endoscope has entered the one of the 4 openings, there is already one port for suction. Any normal instrument that you already have in your armamentarium can be used through the 8mm channel. Once the laminotomy is done, a normal knife can be passed and a durotomy is done. Suction, patty, everything can be used. There is no need for further highly specialized instrumentation that other systems demand for use of Descendo endospine system. This opening is approximately 7 to 8 millimeters in the dura. The shorter opening is always better for detethering to avoid retethering. Within standard Penfield number 4 dissector, we identify the phylum. The classical vein can be seen over it. We held it out in position and use a nerve stimulator to confirm that we are not holding any neural structure inside. Once the confirmation is done and there is no lower limb or sphincter stimulation, we use bipolar coagulation to coagulate the phylum and the vein. You see these instruments, the Caesar, the bipolar coagulation, both are taken from our FES set from our ENT colleagues. I typically find that the FES system is very much reproducible with Descendo system specifically. The anastomo clips are used to close the dura, and this is the end result. The child is mobilized very soon after surgery, and we can see that on this X-ray and on the MRI there is adequate detethering done and a very small laminotomy was done. The EasyGo system is even better because you have both hands can be used for the surgery. This is typically microendoscopic discectomy that can be seen with a nice discectomy done and a scar after a few weeks of surgery. The third generation is much more advanced and used for lumbar canal stenosis. Look at this interlaminar fully endoscopic system. These are the typical set of instruments. Hardly 6 or 7 instruments are used for this. Normal kerosene punches. This is a typical operative setup. The best part of fully endoscopic system is that it is constantly under water irrigation, so the vision is significantly better. We use radio frequency coagulation that does not produce heat, so can be used very very close to the neural structures and even the dura. Here we are coagulating the slight small layer of muscle over the bone and over the ligamentum. It is being separated. And this is a case of a metastatic bony tumor where the patient was not fit for any kind of general anesthesia due to the metastatic disease has affected his liver, his heart function and everything. And so this was done under local anesthesia. We can see that serially we have, using the Kerrison punches, using the radio frequency ablation, we have ablated the tumor also. This is all the tumor tissue that we can see along with the bony tissue. And slowly we start seeing, now we have entered the spinal canal. I'm showing you the more exceptional cases of PSLD and Destando. Of course, the routine spine cases can be done, which I'll be showing you shortly. But these are the few cases that can also be done with the PSLD and not just the routine decompressions. As a spine surgeon, not only degenerative spine is going to come to you, you're going to have all kind of spinal pathologies coming to you, and you have to have every single weapon in your armamentarium to deal with the situation that suits the best to the given clinical setting. This is a 4.1 megahertz radio frequency ablation, because of which there is literally no heat production. You can see the dura is right now free, and we are doing the Kerrison punch is being used over the dura to remove the tumor, compressing the dura and causing myelopathy in this patient. The level is D9, D10. There is a lot of bleeding due to the tumor, friable tumor tissue, which was recently radiated. The total procedure time in this case was about 40 minutes. A longer time is a bit difficult for the patient to sustain in under local anesthesia, under local sedation, because of the position. Now, this is another case in which a fully endoscopic spine system, the S-gun, was used. This is a typical classical right-sided L5 S1 disc. Failed conservative management. Patient had excruciating pain. And just look at the clarity of vision, the ease at which we are able to remove the herniated disc fragment. The nerve root has been retracted by the cannula outside that we can see of the endoscope, and we still see the bulge over there. So the small forceps was used to remove the second disc also. This annulus can be sealed using the radio frequency coagulation, and once you retract the cannula, you can see the nerve root is totally free, back in position, and there is no compression on the nerve root. We inspect for any major bleeders and remove the endoscope. We can see here the excised disc fragment, and this is a typical operative setup. Somehow the person has turned sideways, but this is him walking just few minutes before discharge, which is 2 hours after the procedure. So minimal invasive spine surgery has a lot of benefits. It is becoming more and more popular due to reduced blood loss, wound pain, infection risk, loss of work, and hospital stay. Thank you so much, and I once again invite you for NSSS Spine 2022 to be held in Mumbai from 15th to 18th September 2022. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sumit. It was a wonderful lecture, and you showed almost all varieties of cases which can be done by endoscopy. So, any questions at the end of the day? So there was a wonderful array of techniques. 7 speakers almost spoke all the MIS techniques. So from simple microscopic lumbar discectomy to endoscopic discectomy in the end. And we saw 2 good new techniques where the dynamic stabilization and the posterior interfacetal stabilization, the cervical spine. So definitely technology is rapidly expanding, and learning curve becomes steeper and steeper with technology. So everyone should understand the basic principles of open surgery. Only then you can have a good results with the minimal invasive spine surgery. So I thank all the organizers of NSSA for giving us the opportunity to speak and showcase their techniques and talent. So over to the conference secretariat.
Thank you, Dr. Sukumar Sura. It has been nice moderated, it has been moderated nicely by you. And all the speakers have spoken extraordinarily well because it's a minimal invasive spine session and they have spoken extremely well.